How's it going, guys? We're back with another history type learning reaction video. This time we have the history of Friesland. So Friesland is in, which I actually have a map on my closet door. You can kind of see part of it. Friesland's in the top right of the Netherlands, right next to Groningen. So I believe Groningen used to be like part of Friesland, like back in the day. Not 100% sure, but I think so because on the other side in Germany you have like Old Friesland. So, and it used to all be like together. So, anyways. Original channel's named History Hustle, and links to the original video will be in the description section down below as always. So let's jump into this, learn about some history of Friesland.
Have you ever heard of Friesland? It's a
I
province
have.
in the north of the Netherlands. It has a rich history most people are not aware of. Friesland has its own flag, culture, symbols, and language. In this video,
now I didn't know that right here. I didn't know that the islands above there was also part of Friesland. Very interesting.
symbols and language. In this video, we're going to talk about the history of Friesland, sometimes referred to as Frisia.
Frisia.
Hey,
Gotcha.
welcome to History Hustle at Home. If you like this format, if you like this content, hey, if you like history, please consider subscribing. Also hit that notification bell to begin part of the hustle. Let's start. To determine the origins of Frisia, we need to go back, way back. No, not that far. The Romans. Yep. So the Romans referred to the people living north of their borders as Germanic people. Now, one of the Germanic people were the Frisii. The Frisii lived in what is now the north of the Netherlands. The Frisii lived in an area that are now the Dutch provinces of North Holland, Friesland,
and also in part of the top left of Germany.
Groningen. A decade before Christ, the Romans conquered.
What's Groningen? Did you say something about Groningen being part of it?
North Holland, Friesland, and Groningen. A decade before Christ, the Romans conquered the area, and now the Frisii had to live under Roman rule. They had to pay taxes in forms of oat skins. On several occasions, the Frisii rose against Roman rule. Sometimes this was successful, and sometimes this was not successful. The Frisii joined the Batavian Revolt, also known as the Revolt of the Batavi, in 1670 CE, which was a massive uprising against Roman rule, which unfortunately failed, and the Romans took the following measures. What is now known as the Netherlands was
was this before the? I thought they said 1670 something. Now I thought the 80-year War was during that period. I thought Spain controlled the Netherlands. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Spain didn't control that area of it. I know they were more down south, but I don't know.
Three zones. The southern zone became part of the Roman Empire. The northern zone, that was the area where the Germanic people had to live, and the middle zone would become a buffer zone between these two areas. Around 300, the Frisii territories would become depopulated because of marine transgression, and with that, the ancient Frisii culture came to an end. Later, Angles and Saxons moved in the area, and they refer to themselves as Frisians. However, they cannot be considered as the ancient Frisii. Now,
okay. So modern day Friesland, I wonder if that's like watered down with the people that came, or if it's the originals. Interesting.
About the term Frisians is kind of problematic, and I found an interesting quote in a recent Dutch thesis about this. The term Frisian is problematic because its meaning shifts and is not always clear at a given moment. If it refers to the people from Frisia, then was there one group of people with a common identity living in the area? Probably not, as it was more likely, also considering the landscape, that the area was inhabited by several local groups who had a history, language, and maritime identity of their own, which they shared to a certain extent. So there we are in the Middle Ages. Now there, the Frisian kingdom was established, was sometimes referred to as Magna Frisia or Greater Friesland. And here on this map you see...
Interesting. It goes all the way down into, I believe, almost to Zealand. Yeah. So that's where Rotterdam would be. Over here, and then it goes all the way down into I don't know where that goes. Let me look at my map. Okay, so kind of follows the shape of the Netherlands itself, and where Limburg, I believe Limburg would be down in here possibly. I can't see what that says though.
See the borders of this kingdom, but it's
716. So earlier it wasn't 16 something, it was 600 something is what they were saying. That was well before the Spanish and the 80 Years War for sure.
Actually hard to determine what the exact borders were. The kingdoms in the early Middle Ages weren't as centralized as they would later be. So therefore it is hard to determine their exact borders. Throughout the decades, Magna Frisia had several capital cities. One of them was Utrecht, city where I live in now,
Utrecht,
and the other
okay.
was Dorestad.
Utrecht, yeah, that's in, let's see. Okay, yeah, I don't see it off the top of my head or on the map, but Dordrecht there is right by Rotterdam. I do see that part. And I believe Utrecht's somewhere in the south, right? Up there? Not 100% sure.
A vibrant trading hub that would find its demise at the hands of the Vikings. But I get to that in a second because another...
He says about Dordrecht being a modern trading hub. Well, that's right next to Rotterdam, which is the largest European port. I think third largest in the world or something.
Threat loomed, and I'm talking about the Franks. Yes, in the 7th and 8th century onwards, the Frankish Empire started to grow, and this led to several Frisian Frankish wars. Now,
all the way down into Italy, it looks like. Look at that.
And this led to several...
Right there. They're stretching all the way down into Italy. And almost to like Spain, it looks like. I don't have a world map, but yeah.
Several Frisian Frankish wars. Now, one important reason why the Franks took up arms against the Frisians was religions. See, the Frisians were not Christian as the Franks were. They had their own religion, Germanic paganism. Now, I wasn't able to find much about Frisian paganism, so if you have any additional content, please leave it down below. Now,
yeah, guys, go to the original video and let him know for sure. Links down below for the original video. As always, hit like and subscribe while you're down there. Helps the channel out and is completely free, and I appreciate it.
One of the last battles between the Frisians and the Franks was the Battle of the Bourne in 734.
Of the Bourne?
Here, the Frisian king Poppo led his army by boats to surprise the Franks, yet they were driven back and King Poppo was killed in action. The Franks took over the Frisian territories west of the Lauwers River and later took East Frisia as well. In 755, the Christian missionary Bishop Bonifatius, he arrived at the Frisian coastal place of Dokkum with his goal to Christianize the Frisians. Yet he was met by armed Frisians.
All these wars all about religion, right?
And according to the story, Bonifatius tried to defend himself with a Bible when an axe struck down on him. He did not survive. The Franks also fought against the pagan Saxons. Now, the Frisians often sided with the Saxons because of their shared common enemy. In the year of 793, the Frisians rose one last time against the Franks, and the reason for this was the forced recruitment of Frisians in the Carolingian army. The areas of Frisia controlled by the Franks were terrorized by Frisian bandits who looted and burned down churches. Christian missionaries were killed or chased away. The Franks crushed this uprising with brutal force and took punitive measures. The Frankish Empire crumbled from the mid-9th century. It was a time when Frankish and Germanic rulers fought over supremacy of the Low Countries, and it was also then when...
Hold on, did I see that right? Maybe... Was this before the water
rulers fought over supremacy of
came in? Yeah, because look, yeah, it looks like there's way more opened up to the sea nowadays than right here. That's all blocked off. Let me look. Okay, yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of that that's in the, that's underwater. So like, let's see. Noord-Holland would be here. Amsterdam would be... Yeah, right here. So this is all gone. Up in here's gone. Most of that's all gone. Very interesting. Yeah, so that map was before the water started flooding, before they started trying to reclaim the land. Wow.
And it was also then when the Vikings make their move. Over the course of the 9th and the 10th century, Dutch coastal towns were raided by the Vikings, who also made it inland. They captured the city of Dorestad, which they plundered for 4 times over the course of the century. In the year of
look at that. That's a cool looking little cottage.
4 times
look at
over
that.
the course of the century. In the year of 850, they captured the city of Utrecht. Now, this conquest was led by the Viking Rorik, who came from Denmark and was named Rorik of Dorestad. Now, the fact that he's named after a coastal town he occupied also implies that he settled there, although the Vikings...
Probably, yeah, because why else would it say he's from there? He's Danish, right? So why would he go after, claim a title from a Netherlands town?
weren't brought in large numbers. Yet it proves they were colonizers as well. But that's not the only thing, because they also made alliances with nearby rulers, and therefore Rorik of Dorestad became a vassal. And therefore they also got involved in conflicts that were fought in the area. In 920, Utrecht was taken by the East Frankish king Henry the Fowler. The Vikings' raid did continue, although less frequent, and it would come to an end early 11th.
Right there, see? This is Cologne, Germany. Yeah, the Netherlands isn't even there anymore.
Century. From the end of the 11th century, the County of Holland was established. Count Floris V did several attempts to take the West Frisian lands. Now, in the beginning, his campaign did not fare well. Yet, in the year of 1200,
he messed up in the end, huh?
The St. Lucia's flood took place. Estimations vary, but approximately 50,000 Frisians were killed in this.
Wow.
Thus, the people of Holland could easily take the West Frisian lands. When Floris V passed away,
opportunity.
the Frisians rebelled, and this led to a series of Friso-Hollandic wars that would last all the way until the early 15th century. Now, the resistance of the Frisians against the people
was that like 500 years then, huh?
of Holland would earn them the so-called Frisian Freedom, where there was no feudal and serfdom tradition in Friesland. However, this freedom can be considered as fairly relative, considering which time and which area we are talking about, also because the County of Holland would claim its dominance over the region from time to time. Early 15th century, Friesland would become part of the Habsburg Netherlands, and later it would sign the Union of Utrecht, where the Dutch provinces united themselves against Spanish aggression. In 1588, the Dutch Republic was established, and Friesland was part of this. The area of Emden would remain a Dutch protectorate until the 18th century, when Frederick the Great claimed it for himself, and this explains why this area is part of Germany today and known as Ostfriesland. This area, when Frederick the Great, the area of Emden would remain a Dutch protectorate until the 18th century, when Frederick the Great claimed it for himself, and this explains why this area is part of Germany today and known as Ostfriesland. After the French Revolution and the Batavian Revolution in the Netherlands had taken place, Friesland became respectively part of the Batavian Republic, the Kingdom of Holland, the French Empire, and after Napoleon's defeat, the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. Ever since, Friesland remains a province of the Netherlands, a province with its own culture, its own language, and a place
closest language to English, as a matter of fact.
You should definitely check out one day. Even for me, as a Southern Dutchman, it feels a little bit like going abroad. Now, if you want to know more about
I've heard that a lot.
History of the Vikings and what the role of
I've heard that quite a bit, how, people look at it like almost like it's a whole different nation, whole different country, and all that stuff. So yeah, so that was awesome. That was the History Hustle, right? Is that what the channel's name? Yeah, History Hustle. So very interesting, guys. The history of Friesland, and now we know a little bit of why part of it's in Germany, because it just kind of got like separated and stuff, and then now borders change and whatnot. So, anyways, if you like that, hit like, hit subscribe, and have a super fun, awesome day. And I will catch you in the next video. All right, guys, take care.